Sure. Councilwoman Tucker.
And gentlemen, I apologize. I do want to say thank you to the mayor and thank you to Ed Spear. They were kind enough to come and offer their support for the comprehensive school improvement plan for Learning Bridge. It's very important that we look outside our own doors to see what the community expects from us and would like to see us do as a school. So thank you for spending the evening with us. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for my report. I was the guest of Mayor Peterman and Helper last weekend. She was kind enough to show me around and talk to me about their dark sky compliance. They are a dark sky community. They've done some amazing things with their tourism there, all with $1 million annual budget, which is the smallest city budget I have ever heard of. They're doing some amazing things and got some real great grants. And anytime any council members have some time to talk about that, then I got some real neat information from her that I'd like to go over.
What time is it, man?
Helper, Utah. They also have a railroad mining history and have done some really interesting things. But item 7, items for discussion, possible action of the Ely City Council as recommended by the Municipal Utility Board. We'll start with item 1. Board member Councilman Carson, Councilman Spear, discussion for possible action, approval to move forward with mandatory trash pickup.
So the utility board took no action on this today. We did have some good discussion. This is something we've been kind of kicking around and trying to work on, but the more we worked on it, the more questions popped up. And I could see it was going to take a lot of time and effort for this to get put together. And I didn't really want to waste the staff's time or the attorney's time, because it will take a lot of time if it wasn't the flavor of the council to kind of pursue this and look at it. So that's kind of why I put this on the agenda, just for some discussion tonight and see if everybody was open to us working on this, or maybe it could be a dead deal and it would not be worth working on.
The arguments for
mandatory trash pickup, yeah.
What was the argument in favor of?
Well, we just have been looking at this. I think it would be advantageous in a lot of ways. If you got everybody to do mandatory pickup, the revenues would go up for the trash company, and maybe it'd be cheaper per household. So I think it might be savings to some people. I think you wouldn't have a lot of people loading their trucks up for a month and then going to the dump and having trash flow all over. And it would limit our traffic in and out of the landfill quite a bit, and we do have quite a few lawsuits here and there on vehicle traffic up there.
This was also in response to the hazardous disposal that happened that ended up burning down
our compactor.
Yes. This would provide some insurance that hazardous materials weren't being properly disposed of in the landfill.
Exactly, yes.
It'd be easy to police that. That's one of the things, you take it, that kid was very lucky. I mean, that could have been more worse than what it was. I just seen the big wheel of machinery today, and I'm amazed that it's only that much. I haven't looked at that thing, but we approached this when we were dealing with the county on when they wanted to do their own landfill. Talked to them about it for pickup within the city. But there was a lot of pros and cons. Definitely the cons went out, so we didn't have her done. But there's I think it's inevitable. There's no mics on the board. There's no mics on the board.
They're on now. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
It's still working for Zoom.
For the people that are on.
Oh, okay.
So for the recording.
I can hardly hear you, so.
Thank you.
All right. But one of the things that, the city landfill, the city basically enterprise fund, it's got a life and it's going to eventually run out. And when that life runs out, the city itself is the only entity that's going to be responsible to close that thing, and it's $3.4 million. I've been an advocate since we had this discussion with the county back in the 80s, and they wanted to do their own landfill to find out how much it was costing them. The residents of this county are getting a sweetheart deal on our landfill, and eventually on the backs of the city residents. And I think mandatory pickup in the city would help us as far as knowing what's going in and out of that dump, and the county was going to have to come up with some type of equal type of a program. Maybe they're going to have to do a what do you want to call those, where they, facilities where they
Transfer station.
the transfer station, that's what it is. Transfer station, and then this stuff to be sorted out, but you look at that landfill, and Jim's brought it up many times, that if it continues to go at the rate it's going, and if we don't start looking at some mechanism to change this, it's going to be taller than squat peak was his exact words. And it is becoming an eyesore out there, along with the hazard, so, and, you know, e-disposal, I know with these little dumpsters they put out there, pretty hard to hold the stuff that shouldn't be in there in them. But when you have a pickup load head to the dump, you have no idea what's in that truck. And when that thing closes, there's going to be monitor wells, there's going to be liability. I think we need to just start, I don't think this is going to fly at this time either, like it didn't the last time, but I think it's time that we really start looking at it, because the sand's going through that hourglass out there, and it's going to big piles. So we need to start looking at something, and that's where pickup, we got some ideas thrown out. This is very preliminary. It's a long ways to go to get something that can work and be balanced, and I think we need to start sometime, and in the very near future, to look at that end. That doesn't work for you.
I got one question, Kurt. I can see the mandatory pickup because we'd be able to control how the household trash is blowing all over. We know when the trucks will come in. Right now, it's blowing all the way across Timbers. It's terrible. The question I have is, would they still be able to, everybody bring metal, white metal, tires, and class 3 to the site?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, so this mandatory is for household. Okay, thank you.
Well, and, I mean, there's a number of communities in our state that do this already. In fact, I think most communities do some sort of this kind of program. It's not a new one that I think you would have to be inventing from scratch. So, but I appreciate the work on that.
I think the question on the agenda tonight is that the council feels like we should continue to at least work on going that direction, or just drop it at this time. Is that what the whole intent was? Because we got meetings over this. If you guys want us to keep, if you don't have enough information, you need to look at it a little bit more in depth, and come up with some, whatever, tell us. If not, then just close it and go on.
So there was no action, there was no recommendation from the board this morning.
No.
But a motion tonight is entirely.
I'll make the motion to move forward with the feasibility of mandatory household trash pickup.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilwoman Williams-Harper, motion from Councilman Allred. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and I also know that other communities do this, so it might be good for us to see what their schemes and their plans are.
Sure.
To have maybe 3 or 4 to look at how they're doing it, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
Item 2, council member, city clerk, lead discussion for possible. We did vote on it. She talked afterwards. I was moving too quick. She didn't get it.
Sorry.
That's okay. Board member, city clerk, lead discussion for possible action, approval to remove past due utility fee penalties up to the amount of $590.72 from 30 Avenue B, McGill, Nevada, at the request of tenant, prospective buyer, James Stroud, property owner Cheryl Parmley, is deceased.
Utility board recommended approval on this morning.
Do I have a motion on this item?
I'll move to approve.
I have a motion from Councilman Carson. Do I have a second?
I'll move.
Second from Councilman Allred. Any further discussion on this?
What I'd like to state is that under the circumstances, I normally hate to see these things written off, because it is actually still public funds. Right now, the owner is deceased, and they're trying to do something really good. And they did come in today, interstate today, and pay their lien
It was earlier this week.
So I just want to say that I think this is one of those conditions, circumstances, I think totally agree that this should happen.
Okay. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried and so ordered. Item 8, items for discussion, possible action only of the Ely City Council. We have the consent agenda. We have minutes from September 9th, 2021, and bills from September 27th, 2021, and October 7th, 2021.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to disclose I was a past member of the volunteer fire department, and I will abstain from voting on any bills that were paid to supply the fire department and the volunteers and for the fifth man. Thank you.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on these items.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Carson. Do I have a second? Second from Councilman Flangus. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Passes with a noted abstention. Item B, new business. 1, Mayor Robertson, Rural Nevada Development Corporation, RNDC, CEO Mary Kerner, discussion for possible action, approval of proclamation declaring October 23rd through 31st as Red Ribbon Week in the city of Ely. I said that right the first time. And Patty, would you mind reading
Mary is
the, oh, Mary is,
yeah.
well, she's online. We decided that we'd ask Patty to read it.
National Red Ribbon Week proclamation, City of Ely. Whereas alcohol and drug abuse in this nation has reached epidemic stages, and whereas it is imperative that visible, unified prevention education efforts by community members be launched to eliminate the demand for drugs, and whereas working collaboratively represents a key opportunity for communities to create significant, sustainable improvements in health and equity outcomes. And whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles. And whereas the National Red Ribbon Campaign will be celebrated in every community in America during Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through the 31st. And whereas business, government, parents, law enforcement, media, medical institutions, religious institutions, schools, senior citizens, service organizations, and youth will demonstrate their commitment to healthy drug-free lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons during the week-long campaign. And now, therefore, to be resolved, the City of Ely does hereby proclaim the week of October 25th, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week and encourages its citizens to participate in drug prevention education activities not only during Red Ribbon Week, but all year long. Make a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free community. Dated this 14th day of October 2021.
Thank you, Patty. Do I have a motion for this?
Move to approve.
Motion from Councilman Spear. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilwoman Williams Harper. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Mayor Robertson?
Any opposed?
Mary does.
Mary wants to say something.
Go ahead, Mary.
So I just wanted to clarify, it was put on there as RNDC, but it's actually the Ely Ellis Lodge, just for clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2, Mayor Robertson, discussion for possible action, appointments of municipal utility board member with a term through December 31st, 2023. Nominee for the seat is Gregory D. Rivera, who is with us tonight. Greg has been involved in surveying here in our local community and various construction and utility projects, and he was kind enough to entertain my appointment. And we're still looking for one more person, but this fills an empty seat on our utility board. I think he'd be a great addition. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Rivera?
I have one for him. What took you so long? I've known Greg almost since he come in, and what an incredible asset to our community. Well, I'm tickled to death to see that.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say, Greg?
No, I'd just like to do my part.
We appreciate you being willing to take the appointment. Anything else to add?
Most definitely. Greg has been wonderful. I don't know what we would have done during the building of the charter school and other things without him. And so he's amazing, an amazing personality. You just get along with Greg, and his advice is sound advice, so I'm happy to see that.
Wonderful. With that, I'll entertain a motion to confirm this appointment.
I'll move to approve.
Motion from Councilman Spear. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Flangus. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Welcome aboard.
Welcome on board.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Item 3, Mayor Robertson, discussion only. Interview of candidates for city building official position. The applicants are Alan Becker and John Baker. Do you want to, HR Director, do you want to introduce this process real quick?
So the mayor will have the questions.
Do we have both candidates here tonight?
I think the one was gonna zoom in, and one is here.
We'll start with the gentleman in the room then.
Thank you. My name is Alan Becker from the city of Henderson. And I'm applying for the building official position. I actually work for the city of Henderson, been there 23 years. Prior to that, city of Las Vegas. I'm certified in building plans examination, code enforcement, and also plans building inspection. I have a total of 19 certifications. I'm well qualified, and are there any questions you would like to ask?
So I've got a list of questions we'll go through here. If they have any other follow-up ones, the council will ask.
Sure.
The first one is, what attracted you to this position with the city of Ely?
Actually, my wife and I were looking for our forever home. We have been for probably 5-6 years between Arizona and Utah and here. We've been coming here for 20 years, bringing our kids to KOA. They grew up there. I hunt and fish. I put in my tags here every year. I make about 4 or 5 trips. We finally bought land here early part of this year over in Blue Diamond Estates, and we're ready to start building, but I didn't want to build unless I was going to be a permanent resident. So when this opened up, timing was everything, and I said, you know, now's our chance, because this is where we're going to finish out and live and enjoy the rest of our lives. We love it here, and that was the main reason.
Great. What were the responsibilities of your last position, or I guess your current position?
Current position right now is combination plans examiner. So I do combination plans examination on anything residential, commercial, from trash enclosures, swimming pools, up to commercial buildings. Prior to that, I worked in code enforcement for a while when we had reduction in force. I also worked in building inspection for 25 years between Las Vegas and the city of Henderson as a combination inspector. So we inspected everything from houses, swimming pools, all the way up to hospitals, high rises. In my background is construction. I started out as an electrician, served my apprenticeship in IBW, completed that. I'm actually a licensed journeyman plumber as well, and construction has been my business my whole life.
Wonderful. This position requires working with the public. Please explain how you deal with the public when it comes to enforcing the city's adopted building codes when they might not agree.
The way I usually try to deal with it is I look to find a way to solve the problem. I'm not here to create problems. I'm not here to make problems worse. I want to work together and solve problems. So when I get those phone calls, we try to go through and understand. If we have to do a Zoom meeting, because the COVID, we'll do a Zoom meeting. We'll have a couple of other meetings. We also use Microsoft Teams. And we go through the codes, we go through the interpretation of the code, the intent of the code, and we try to find solutions. I mean, that's basically, I'm not here to try and stop them from building. I'm not here to try and tell them that they can't do anything. I mean, the code is open to a lot of new alternate method and materials, but we want to find a way to make it work, a happy medium. We work together. We got people that are investing a lot of money to build these projects. We have a lot of architects, designers that are spending a lot of time, and also, it's good business. So that's how I usually handle it.
Great. Currently, this position requires traveling within the greater White Pine County area. Are you comfortable with that kind of travel?
No problem. I've spent many, many, many miles. My driving record's clean since 15 and a half, no tickets, no accidents, and I have no problem driving whatsoever.
Okay. Do you feel you can fill both roles as the inspector and the official?
Yes, I do believe I can. A lot of times, the building inspector is just another arm of the building official when you get out to some of those job sites.
Sure.
So basically, you're trying to solve problems and not create where something's going to become a big issue, and it goes up to the building official, and they have to make the call. You want to be able to solve it as best you can within the body of the code or the intent of the code. So I don't see that as being a problem.
Okay. And you have already covered this a little bit, but why are you leaving your current position?
Actually, my wife and I want to move here. I'm the most tenured person in my department, and we love it here. Our town is the second largest city in the state of Nevada. It's busy. It's 30, 40 minutes to get 12 miles, and I just love coming here. I love the view every morning. I drove in this morning. The mountains were gorgeous. The snow was gorgeous, and this is where I want to be.
Great. Do you have any questions for myself or the council?
No, I've already spoken to Jeanette, I've talked to several people, I've met a lot of people along the way, a lot of the engineers, I've talked to the utilities, you know, as far as building my house. I was a little in the bad timing when I bought the land, because the other building official wasn't started yet, and the other one was leaving, so I didn't get to meet with the actual building official to answer a few questions, but I got them answered. The last building official called me back and we talked a little bit, and then I've also talked to some of the contractors in town, so.
Sure.
I think I have all of the questions that I had answered. I have a list. I called Jeanette, she helped me out with quite a bit. So I've got all my questions I think that I need for my personal self answered.
Are there any follow-up questions from the council or anything else they'd like to know?
I kind of have one, but I don't know, I need to point up to Leo, if I can, for a couple minutes.
You guys want to step over here?
Sure. Yeah.
You can screen his question. We're not going to make it here. You did a bad guess, and you need to own that.
The question I want to ask you, you were here earlier when the resident came forward with a real unique situation on a project they're on. You were the building inspector and could not be in town or available for that inspection because of timelines. Would you be agreeable to have them take photos and take it from that, or would they have to follow the project?
In our jurisdiction where we're at now, we prefer to do a video conference. So we actually do have virtual inspections in a lot of our jurisdictions, just because of the hazards, the rooftops and this and that. That's not available, depending on background and that. Yes, we do accept the pictures, I do. But, you know, again, it's one of those things you have to work together. We're not going to cover and bury everything, and we're not going to do certain things that are not legal. But in cases where we can't provide that service, we have to go with a good judgment. And that's how usually I would base it. But if someone can walk around and we have virtual inspections and they go, look, this is what it's looking like. I can't personally be there, but I can see it on my phone, and they're presenting it on their phone. In my mind, you know, as long as we can verify the address, the location, and the work being done, that's almost as good as being there in person. I mean, it's the next best thing if you possibly can't make it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
We'll move on to the next candidate who's on Zoom. I'm told he's got a camera, so he'll show up over here on the screen, and I'm hoping we'll be able to hear him okay.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. It's not the greatest, but if you can make sure you're as close to your mic as you can get.
Let me know if you can hear me.
Yep, if you hold that right up to your mouth, that sounds okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay.
City council members, good to see you tonight. Ladies and that I can't see, good to meet you too.
Could you state your name for the record?
John Baker.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Baker, we have a series of questions here, just like the last candidate. We'll go through them. What attracted you to this position with the City of Ely?
Actually, what attracted me to the position of building inspector slash building official is the idea of leaving the state of Google, California. I've lived here too long, and it seems like it's getting more crowded every day. So I'm looking to get out of state to relocate. I was actually working on a couple of things, and the last year I've told people I have an end date now, which is moving out of the state of California. And I saw this pop up, and I said, here we go.
directly into it. We're having a hard time hearing you.
I think I have it all the way up.
That's
Yeah,
better.
perfect. Just speak clearly and that'll work okay. What were the responsibilities of your last or current position?
Building inspector, plan check. I work closely with the building official, the jurisdiction I'm working in right now. So our duties kind of coincide with one another when it comes to plans, projects, whether it be commercial and or residential. Did you hear me?
Yep, we did. Thank you. This position requires working with the public. Please explain how you deal with them when it comes to enforcing the city's adopted building codes if the public might not agree.
This is always a good one. I love this question. But I've been a general contractor since 1992. So what I bring to the table is I bring my knowledge and experience from the field and my knowledge and experience with the code and working for different jurisdictions. So what usually happens is when it does happen, I have the ability to share with the individual both sides of the fence. I know what he's trying to do, and I understand, and I let him know what I'm trying to do. So the idea of his project is to move, I call it, my favorite term is move the bus along. I'm here to move your bus along. So by doing that, if there's a problem, by the time we get through with the problem that there was, the problem has disappeared because he understands that I've been on the side that he's worked on, and now we're working together. The whole idea is to form a relationship with whoever I'm working with out there, not have relationships. So most of the people that I deal with, which is probably 99% of the people I deal with in the city that I work in right now, it's very personal. It's not business. I'm not there as a building inspector per se. I'm there to help move the bus along. And that's what we do. And that's how we get our projects accomplished, whether it be a commercial or a residential. That's what I try to do.
Okay. This position will require traveling within the greater White Pine County area. Are you comfortable with this?
I drive every day. I drive my car every day doing inspections, so every day I'm on the road. It doesn't bother me.
I assume you've been to our area before?
I have not been into your area. I've looked at your area, and your
Okay.
area looks really pleasing to me.
Sure. Do you feel you have, excuse me, do you feel you can fill both roles as inspector and official?
Yes, I can. I feel I can fill both roles based on my experience, my knowledge, and the way I go about sharing my knowledge with the people around me, and then also being open to hear their knowledge.
Okay.
Yes.
And you covered this a little bit already, but why are you leaving your current position?
I'm still leaving. I still have my position. They already know that I might be leaving, and they're all good with that. They're very happy that I even applied for this position. So
And the reason you're leaving is just to get out of California, or is there?
Get out of California. Yeah, I have no ties here. My daughter moved to Hawaii, so yeah.
Okay.
I'm good.
Do you have any questions for the council or myself?
No, but from what I see on my computer, everything looks kind of interesting to me. You know, I like the, I understand it's a small town, doesn't have a great population, which is fine with me. It gives me an idea or a possibility to slow me down a little bit and to enjoy the people around me, which a lot of times you're not able to do in a fast-paced area like this. So, yeah,
Okay.
look forward to hearing more. Thank you.
Are there any follow-up questions from the council?
Yes, I'd like to pose the same question, which I think we need to do all candidates. We had a resident earlier in this meeting have a scenario where they're in a project and our building inspector won't be available. If you were in that same situation and they asked if they could take pictures, because the inspection would be 1 week from today, they had to pull back on their subs and stuff. Well, how would you handle that so they could continue with their project, video or photographs? Would you allow that?
What? You want me to drive up there and do it? My idea on that project there, particular project, if I've been the inspector on that project all the way up to this point, and I have a relationship with the contractor and I know his work, yes, a video would be fine, or pictures would be fine. Okay.